now to take a look at some of the big games in the NFL this weekend coming in the NFC. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, who have been rolling over everybody since Rodgers made his run-the-table prediction. But the Vikings will look to complete the season sweep after beating Green Bay in Week 2. Max, will Zimmer and company shut down A-Rod again?
No, and, you know, this is how he makes a living. Zimmer. That's what he's doing with the job, is because he gives Aaron Rodgers problems. But the Vikings are not very good right now, and Aaron Rodgers is. The Packers are going to win this game, Stephen A., and they're at home.
Well, I definitely think that they're probably going to win this game. I have no faith in the Vikings offense whatsoever. Adrian Peterson doesn't need to be playing anymore. Doesn't even need to think about it. Last game, during this winning streak, Aaron Rodgers has like 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of like 106. Demarius Randall got back. You know, he was gone during the losing streak, so it coincided with his departure. He got back, was playing well, but got benched last week against Barkley because Barkley put up 362 yards passing, I believe. But I think that he's going to be back with a vengeance. Clay Matthews is going to be there. I think overall their defense has been playing better. They should win this game because literally I believe all you need to do is score 14 points and you can beat the Vikings, because I have no faith in their offense whatsoever.
The Falcons clinch NFC South with a win against Carolina this weekend and a Bucs loss or tie. Stephen A., should Atlanta be on upset alert against Cam and company?
They should be, because they're on the road. But if Atlanta is anything that we think they're supposed to be, they should be able to win this game. Kuechly is probably not going to play again, even though he's been cleared from the concussion protocol. Cam Newton and those boys don't want him to play. I don't know if he'll be back in that lineup. Even though the defense is looking to improve, Atlanta has enough of a high-powered offense, and Carolina's offense struggles sporadically. I think the combination of the two can make for an interesting game, but this is a game Atlanta should win if we are to consider them the legitimate threat in the NFC that some Falcons fans want everybody to believe they are. They should win this game.
Yeah, Carolina's had a terrible season, and just when it looked like, okay, they're done, they show signs of life, and that's the NFL. This is the season, the team that starts the season is not the same always as the team that finishes it. What if Carolina's coming on right now and finding their groove, even though it's too late to cause problems? But the thing about the Falcons this year is all year, at least I'm waiting for them to collapse. Here it comes. And while their play was shaky at times, the collapse never came. The Falcons' offense obviously is for real. And yes, Cam and company have chances in this game, but I like Atlanta to actually win.
Stephen A., I got a tough question for you. At least I think it's a tough question. Who would you rather have long-term, Matt Ryan or Cam Newton?
Cam Newton, his athleticism. His abilities physically, I think, outweigh what we see from Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan is clearly a better pure passer. My problem is there are down moments during a season that Matt Ryan has, and there seems to be an inability to uplift and galvanize the dudes around him. I see Cam Newton having that ability. And that's why I would go with him.
Yeah, I would say Cam Newton, and it's an interesting question because Matt Ryan is an excellent player, but Cam Newton's already won an MVP. Matt Ryan hasn't. Cam Newton has already taken a team to the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan hasn't. Cam Newton is younger by several years. He's bigger and stronger. So Cam Newton is the answer.
All right, let's keep it going. The Seahawks can clinch a first-round bye in the NFC playoffs with a win and some help. But Seattle faces division rival Arizona, looking to play spoiler. Max, should the Seahawks and your guy Russell Wilson be on upset alert?
They should. The Seahawks now listen, I'm doing this a lot nowadays. I realize that. I like the Seahawks to win the game. But should there? Yes, they should be on alert, because Arizona looked good recently, and Seattle hasn't looked good in a while. They've looked shaky. So absolutely, it would be a monster upset for Arizona to spring. But ultimately, you look at a team like, who are the teams that make it to the playoffs? Who are the teams that make noise? The two of them every year, it seems, are the Patriots in the AFC, Seattle in the NFC. And that's because when you have a great coach, a great quarterback, and a great defense, certainly secondary, you get it done in games like this. So I like Seattle to survive against Arizona in a dangerous and close game.
Here's my mindset. I don't believe in Arizona anymore for this season. But more importantly than that, Seattle, I think, recognizes that they need to secure themselves a number 2 seed and play as many home games as they possibly can. They don't want to be on the road too much. They know that they're going to have to go to Dallas if indeed it comes to that. They don't want to go anywhere else as well. And I think they recognize that. They're smart enough. They've been here before. They understand what it takes, what's required in all of this. I think they'll be ready for the challenge.
Stephen A., how far do you think Seattle goes in the playoffs?
To me, it remains to be seen. I'm just saying they'll beat Dallas if they face Dallas.
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't
it
know
remains
what
to
they'll
be
do.
seen. That's not the question.
Well, here's the reason why. Is because my thing is this. I think that they could end up losing to anybody else. I think the Giants are capable of beating them. I think the Falcons are capable of beating them. I think Green Bay and others are capable of beating them. I'm saying to you, they will beat Dallas. I don't believe they will lose to Dallas.
Right.
Whatever it takes to stop the Dallas Cowboys. That's all I'm
That's
interested
not personal.
in.
Molly,
That's
I would
all
say
I'm interested in.
say I am this close to taking the Giants to go all the way this year. This close. But I will stick with my original prediction, which was, before the season started, a rematch of the Super Bowl before last, this time with Seattle getting revenge. That means I do believe Seattle gets out of the NFC. I like the way they match up with Dallas, who seems to be the primary threat. And yes, I think Seattle does get out of the NFC, to answer the question.
Stephen A., just to be clear, you want Dallas to lose?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You know the golden rule. Those who have to go make the rules.
Hey, you're stupid. And then celebrates when he does something good. Come on! I was being glib. Ow! But this guy's special. Come on! And then comes the cliff. Shh.
I barely understood what the hell you were saying.
You know what it is, folks. The countdown continues. No, not to Hanukkah and Christmas. We are less than 2 weeks away from First Take's big move to ESPN. Do you know what, Max Kellerman?
Which is kind of like Hanukkah and Christmas.
Yeah, it is. Did you guys know that Wale is going to perform live? Also, he's bringing a very special guest. I know who it is, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. Ice Cube, Jim Kelly. It's going to be good. We're looking forward to it. Stephen, are you excited or what?
I'm looking forward to it as well, but I want to say that I'm personally honored because Wale is coming. I guess he's taking time away from his schedule with Jerry Seinfeld to bless us with his presence. You know that Wale made a song with Jerry Seinfeld included. It was actually pretty fly.
Really? I want to tell Wale I would like a line in the song if he could add that in. Thank you. I'd like to be a part of the Open. Thank you so much.
Knowing him, you don't have to ask. He'll take care of it.
Yeah, okay. You guys are going to take care of the AFC games. Let's get into them right now. First, we have the Dolphins. They can clinch their first playoff appearance since 2008 with a win over the Bills and a Broncos loss in Kansas City. But Buffalo is actually favored against Miami. Matt Moore under center. Max Kellerman. Will it be fins up? Do the Dolphins get a win?
You know, I don't know how to reconcile this because I feel like the Dolphins, who can make the playoffs if they win out, I mean, there's 6 right now, make the playoffs, and yet somehow when I think about this game, I just get the sense that Rex Ryan, who's a player's coach, when his back is up against the wall, his players play for him.
That's a good point.
And so even though, Matt Moore is doing his thing, but I like Buffalo in this one in a very close game, Stephen A. Smith.
Well, I like Buffalo as well because I can't bet my money on Matt Moore. I mean, I know he had a good game last week, but consider the source, meaning the competition. I'm just not sold. And so I have to look at it from the perspective that the Bills with absolutely nothing to lose because for the 6th straight season with Rex Ryan as a head coach, he's not taking his team to the playoffs. Somehow, some way, they'll play hard for him. They're playing with house money. They have absolutely nothing to lose. They'll go all out, and I suspect that they'll find a way to win this game. It's not going to save his job, though, and it should.
Doesn't it tell you something about Rex Ryan, though, Stephen A., that when push comes to shove, you also basically believe his player's going to show up and play for him?
What it tells me is that his players play up for him when it doesn't count. And Rex Ryan comes across as somebody who's concerned about things when they do count. But his resume doesn't exemplify that. He doesn't get it done when he's required to do so.
But for the purposes of this one, I can totally see Rex Ryan playing spoiler. Another coach that you've talked about could be on the hot seat, Stephen A., is Marvin Lewis. The Bengals are out of the playoff race this season, but can play spoiler against the Texans on Christmas Eve. Tom Savage gets the nod for H-Town. Who you got, Stephen A.?
I'm picking the Texans. I'm picking the Texans. I think that, there's more urgency attached to them. They need to win this game. They're still vying for a playoff spot. They're on their home turf. There's a level of urgency. And Savage, as Merrill Hodge told us, looked a lot better on film, read through his progressions, was making the right decisions, wasn't turnover prone. And more importantly, he seems to want to be in the starting lineup. Brock Osweiler, I'm not saying that he is this way, but he looked like an individual who was completely okay and satisfied with getting benched, has absolutely no problem with it at all because he's getting paid and he doesn't have the pressure of having to go out there and perform. He seems very, very comfortable with that. That's not the case with Savage. And in the case of the Cincinnati Bengals, half the time they don't look like they care anyway. And so for me, I believe that if there is justice in this world, the beginning of the end of Marvin Lewis's era will be cemented with this weekend's performance, but who knows?
Yeah, the Bengals lost their Super Bowl last week. I don't think they're going to have anything left. But I want to talk about Savage for a second. It's easy always to map your kind of hopes onto the backup quarterback. Let's see what he does. And then when he comes out and looks good and has a really good game and is that much better than the starter, we're all hoping, by the way, we talked about Matt Moore, we're all hoping that maybe that's a diamond in the rough and maybe we're seeing the start of something interesting at least. And I'm not ready to dismiss the idea that could be Savage. I mean, he looked really good, and I realize it's a small sample size, and they'll accumulate tape on him and start to game plan for him and everything like that, but maybe that hasn't happened yet, and I expect Houston to win this game.
Max, I know we're in the holiday spirit right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard, the Browns, they haven't won a game. The Chargers are coming to town. Do you think they can win this weekend?
No, they're terrible. I mean, listen, I don't think I think the Browns' future is going to be good. I like the fact that D. Podesta's there. Hugh Jackson, I like some of the stuff that's going on there, but it takes time, and there ain't enough time yet this season. That is the worst team. Well, the Browns and the Niners, those are the two worst teams in football.
I'm sad for Hugh Jackson. I think he deserves better. I think for the vast majority of this season, they've played hard for him. They've tried their best. They're just bereft of talent. They don't have much talent, and that's what this really comes down to. And then when I look at a guy like Terrell Pryor, I'm like, how the hell are you making news about talking smack to people where everybody's feeling the need to come back at you? How do you gumption up the nerve to talk smack when you are on an 0 for team, meaning 0 for 11, 12, 13, 14, and counting? I'll tell you how, because Terrell Pryor is trying to make a name for himself by letting the world know he's not associated with this. He might be wearing the same uniform, but he has nothing to do with this losing. But he does, and he will again. I can't see them beating the Chargers.
I feel for Browns fans too, but at least they have the Caps. Stephen A., real quick, Jets at Pats. New England favored by 16.5 points. Is this just going to be a blowout?
I think 16 is too kind. I think that the Jets are awful, and I think they should be ashamed of themselves and how they've laid down on their coach. I don't think Bowles deserves to be fired, not with the winning season he had last year, but he's clearly going to be on the hot seat next season because this team flat out quit a couple of times already this year.
Yeah, the Jets are about to get shellacked. I mean, and it doesn't matter how many people Belichick sits and rests. It just doesn't matter. The Patriots are going to beat them by a lot. I mean, I think 10 points, 14 points. You talk about 16 points, but I can't see it under 2 scores.
All right, coming up next.
The ball is 15, 20, he marks the man, 30, the 20, the 10, 5, touchdown Ravens! There's Hunter's block at the 20-yard line, kicked out and taken for a touchdown!
Touchdown, Steelers! Holy cow!
It's their 4th trip into the red zone tonight. Fires down the middle, he's got a man, touchdown Ravens! Oh, he threw a strike to Steve Smith Sr.
This is one of my favorite rivalries. This just in. These two teams, they don't like each other. The Steelers are a game up on the Ravens in the AFC North and have an 86% chance to win the division, according to 538.com. But the Ravens won their Week 9 matchup and would lead the division thanks to the tiebreaker if they manage to win on Sunday. Oh, Stephen A., your squad, the black and yellow, how important is it for them to win this one?
It's everything. It's everything, which is why I'm picking the Steelers to win this game, which is why I don't even have to talk about this game. I don't care about the football elements of it. I just know that when the final buzzer sound, the Steelers had better win this damn game. Let's look at this. Let's count the ways. They've lost 6 of the past 7 games to the Baltimore Ravens, 4 in a row, including 2 at Heinz Field. They almost cost themselves a trip to the playoffs last year when Baltimore didn't even have anybody available, and they still went and beat the Steelers. Enough is enough. If you are the Steelers, a team that calls yourself Super Bowl championship contenders, you had damn well better go into your Heinz Field, your home turf, all right, in the Steel City, and act like you know what the Steel Curtain is all about. You better step up. You better handle your business. You better beat them down. I don't want to hear any excuses. No excuses. Jarvis Jones is #1 pick self. Now he riding the damn bench for crying out loud. You got James Harrison playing right outside linebacker because you got a 39-year-old man that's got to be up in there because your behind can't get the job done. You relegated to taking special team snaps for crying out loud. Enough's enough. Enough's enough. The Steelers had better show up this Christmas Day. I swear. They better show up, damn it. They will win this game because they have to, because if they lose this game, they're going to lose the division. They'll probably miss the playoffs, and I can't even tell you how disgusted I'm going to be. I don't even talk about it no more. They better show up. Mike Tomlin, Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. You better show up. You better show up this week.
What's steel curtain? That's a satin curtain.
You know what I'm saying. I'm talking about tradition. I'm not talking about this team. Don't confuse this, Moses.
Look, the Ravens have struggled running the ball okay. The Steelers, they have no secondary to speak of. The Ravens have looked better this year than I thought they were. I was wrong about them.
Not offensively.
But those who thought the Ravens would make some noise were proven right this season. But it's at Heinz Field. It's at Heinz Field when the Ravens have been a different team, and Flacco's been a different guy, it seems, at home versus on the road. The fact that this game is on the road for Baltimore makes me favor the Steelers. But think about what's at stake. If Baltimore wins this game, their chances go from extremely slim to win the division to just over 50%. I think it's like 14% to win the division. If they win the game, 51%. So they are a very hungry team, in addition to the fact that it's a rivalry game. In addition to the fact that these teams don't like each other. Baltimore has a lot to play for. The reason I like Pittsburgh, Donovan, is simply because they're at home.
You know what, Max? This game reminds me of the first game that we talked about your New York Giants going into Philadelphia. What's the problem that Eli Manning has? He doesn't play that well during the regular season. Well, we can say the same thing about Joe Flacco, about his regular season performance, because in the playoffs, Joe Flacco is one of the best playing in the playoffs at that particular time. His record speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. But when I look at this particular game, I look at more Ben Roethlisberger. The last time they played against Baltimore, Ben was coming off an injury, and they decided to abandon the run and throw the ball a lot more in that particular game. Le'Veon Bell is back healthy and one of the best, if not the best, running backs in the game. And I think they feature him a little bit more to attack that defense. Now, the Baltimore Ravens defense is one of the best defenses versus the run, and they will continue to get a little bit more than they expect from Le'Veon Bell. But what does that do? Now that opens up the play-action game. Antonio Brown. You talk about Green at the tight end position. Talk about Coach. You talk about guys now getting more involved. And for a team that's won 5 in a row at this particular time, momentum, chemistry, and flow is working in the favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're back healthy again. Stephen A. talked about a couple guys that have been benched. Yeah, but let's talk about the guys that have been playing and active. They have elevated their game to playoff type of play. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers understand the magnitude of this particular game, and I think they come out with that attitude. This is a game in which, for rival games, all week you've been waiting for this opportunity to button your chin strap up and play against the Baltimore Ravens. And they can say the same thing in Baltimore. But when I look at Pittsburgh, everything works in the favor of the Steelers. And the deciding factor of this particular game is the health of Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, that's my point. They've lost 6 of the last 7 and 4 in a row, including 2 at Heinz Field, like I echoed earlier. But more importantly than that, you're looking at a Baltimore Ravens offense that has no running game. They rank 28th in the NFL. They're going to have to rely on the pass. When you look at it from that perspective, based on everything you just highlighted, Donovan, there is absolutely, positively no excuse for the Steelers to be unable to win this game. offensively is elite as Baltimore's defense can be at times. You have Big Ben, you have Antonio Brown, you've got Le'Veon Bell. All three are healthy and playing well. Handle your damn business.
But
I think they'll put up points. It won't be 40, but I think they'll put up points. But your defense should be able to perform against this Baltimore Ravens
Your
offense.
secondary?
It should
Your
happen.
secondary should be able to perform. The Steelers' secondary has not been very good, to say the
Yeah,
least.
it has been very good, Stephen.
Unlike you, Max Kellerman, I don't feel the need to repeat myself 1,000 damn times. I've said enough that the Steelers' secondary.
Actually, Stephen, if I repeat myself 1,000 times, it's 2,000 for you.
Whatever, Moses. Look, here's the deal, man. By the way, Donovan, I call him Moses because of all the gray wins. But the point that I'm trying to make to you is this. I don't want to hear it. At the end of the day, the bottom line is this secondary should look relatively decent against this offense. That's all I'm saying.
Stephen A., let me add to that.
Pick a better tie for you.
Yeah, let me add to the more fuel to the fire. Remember, the matchup between Mitchell at safety and also Steve Smith, that whole deal, remember he tried to act like he was on Steve Smith's level, and Steve Smith said, you're not even on my son's level. That should get a little animosity built up on that defense to apply pressure on Joe Flacco and force him to throw the ball maybe about 45, 50 times in this game.
Well, it's important that we recognize that when I talk about the Ravens offense in any kind of negative way, I certainly am not talking about the great Steve Smith, who has the greatest name in sports. Let's just be clear. He has the greatest name in the NFL.
Who is the most famous
we do understand
Steve
that, don't
Smith? I wanted to know, there's a basketball, obviously Steve Smith, the former basketball player, Stephen A. Smith, Steve Smith, the receiver.
It's just something special.
But who's the most famous?
Even Donovan
who is the
McNabb
most well-known?
Yeah, who's the most popular?
I think it might be you.
Hold it.
Hold on.
Well, we know who the loudest is.
Just because some of us are the greatest don't mean the others ain't great. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's love and enough love to go around for everybody. There's only, you know what I'm saying? And the Steve Smith is very popular. There's no bunch of Max Kellerman or Spot Kellermans walking around.
That right.
You see what I'm saying?
The world couldn't handle that.
All right, let's move on, guys. Pittsburgh's favored by 5.5. Not the only one this weekend with playoff implications. Expect a lot of offense when Andrew Luck, your fave, Max, and Derek Carr go head-to-head. So the Colts are still alive in the AFC South, but they need a lot of help. Good news is they've won 4 straight versus Oakland. Max, you think the Colts keep their playoffs hopes alive in the black hole?
The Raiders are properly favored here, but this is I thought the Giants would beat the Eagles. I knew it would be a tough, close game, and there was upset possibilities. Same thing here. What this game is going to come down to is, can Indianapolis keep Andrew Luck upright versus Khalil Mack? That's it. If they can, the Colts will win the game. But given the Colts' offensive line and given Khalil Mack's ability, it's a tall order. Look, I know everyone loves Derek Carr. I am among the people who have to give it up for this dude, especially when it matters most. But I am here to tell you, Andrew Luck is absolutely a better player than Derek Carr right now. The difference between those two is Andrew Luck has 0 offensive line and Derek Carr has a great offensive line. And if you switch those two, if you put Andrew Luck on the Raiders and Derek Carr on the Colts, you would see what I mean. The Raiders would have gotten better, the Colts would have gotten worse. That is no knock against Derek Carr. It's simply to point out how underappreciated Luck has become. No,
yeah, you sound like you're knocking him to me too.
Luck is better. Who's a better player, Derek Carr or Andrew Luck?
Derek Carr is having a better season than Andrew Luck.
Yes, he is.
Of course he has a better offensive line. Who's better?
Yeah.
Who's better?
First of all, the Oakland Raiders are trying to figure out if they're going to replace their right tackle. Now, I think one thing that you're kind of skipping over, we can talk Andrew Luck because everybody has loved him coming out of the draft. And he's had a great season, great career thus far. Injuries have played a factor. But let's not discount what Derek Carr has done this year. We can talk about the talent around him, Latavius Murray, which I think he's the X factor in this particular game. Amari Cooper, then also Crabtree, and then Roberts. These guys have stepped up their game. But let's talk about their offense. Their offense continues to push the ball down the field. The problem with Andrew Luck, he turns the ball over too much at the wrong time. And we can talk so much about this team. This Oakland Raiders team understands the magnitude of this game, and not only that, when was the last time we talked about the Oakland Raiders being relevant? Don't you think Jack Del Rio has continued to push that in the minds of this Oakland Raiders football team? They have so many distractions out there with the football team. Is Aldon Smith coming back? Is he going to be out for the season? Can anybody else besides Khalil Mack and maybe Irving apply pressure to the quarterbacks? What's wrong with this secondary? Why can't they stop anybody down the field 20 yards or plus? But the thing about it with me is this football team understands what's going on and what they can do at this particular point. They're not battling anybody else like the Indianapolis Colts. They're focusing on the Kansas City Chiefs, trying to put themselves in a position where they can get a playoff game maybe at home. Will that happen? I don't think so. But when it comes to these two particular teams, you can't tell me that the Indianapolis Colts has a chance to win this game from what we've seen last week, the way they play, and they're so
that's exactly
inconsistent.
what I'm telling you. They absolutely have a chance to win this game.
Not at all.
Absolutely.
And then Derek Carr is playing much better than Andrew Luck.
Derek Carr is an MVP candidate this year. I want to make that very clear. He's excellent, and I'm a big fan. I am here to tell you Andrew Luck is a better player than Derek Carr.
Stop
you
with
give
your
him that
pleasantries.
O-line.
You're always sitting there and softening it up. One thing, and then all of a sudden you come back with this.
Yeah.
Oh, please. You always, I'm trying to tell you, you put Fred Astaire and the late, great Gregory Hines to shame, dancing around. Oh, Derek Carr's this, but Andrew Luck is that. And Andrew Luck is this, but Derek Carr is that. You're all over the place. The bottom line is this. Look, Donovan McNabb, here's the deal. Max Kellerman went on the air, and he said two very profound things before this year even began. Number one, Tom Brady would fall over a cliff within 18 months.
Yes.
And number two, Andrew Luck would be the league MVP. Wrong on both counts. Everybody in that grandmother
Watch him make the playoffs.
And it's just that simple. It's all right, though, Max. It's all right. And by the way, Max, the whole lavender-looking shirt, I know you're trying to disguise the gray. Damn it, it ain't working. Back to football. Here's the deal. This is the deal. In the end, what it comes down to is this. The Raiders have a running game.
Yes.
Indianapolis does not.
Yep.
And that's a big, big deal. And so when you look at it from that perspective, of course it's an NFL Sunday. Any given Sunday, anybody can win. But if you had to bet your money, you and everybody knows that it would be on the Raiders because thus far they have been better. Indianapolis has been every bit as mediocre as we would surmise. And more importantly, Max, I am tired of hearing about the offensive line with Andrew Luck. You know why? Because Grigson has now had 5 years to get this man a damn offensive line, and he can't do it.
So
how many years are we going to keep saying that?
Let me just make sure.
Saying that?
So if Andrew Luck has a big game and beats these mighty Oakland Raiders, which you guys don't think is going to happen because he doesn't have a running game, etc., and then he wins the next game and they make the playoffs, is he an MVP candidate, yes or no? I'd like people on
He's not making the playoffs, and no, he won't be an MVP candidate.
Got it.
Guys.
No.
Got it.
Guys, we got to get a break in. Donovan, want to wish you a very Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Whatever.
And we're so happy to have more of you in the new year.
Go in the
Merry
sunshine,
Christmas,
Donovan. Go in
everybody.
the sunshine.
Merry
Christmas.
Google Donovan.
Now I'm left
Go
with
in
two
the
Scrooges for the
sunshine,
rest
Donovan.
of the show.
I hope it snows. I hope it snows there, Donovan.
If only. The Chiefs can clinch a playoff spot with a win or a Ravens loss. Kansas City has not made the playoffs in consecutive seasons since making it 6 straight seasons from 90 to 95. If the Broncos miss the playoffs, they will be the first defending Super Bowl champions to not make the playoffs since the 2013 Ravens. So the Chiefs have won the last 2 meetings. Will the third time be a charm? Max, will KC end the defending Super Bowl champs season?
Yeah, I think it's likely.
Really?
At Arrowhead, that's a tough place to play.
Black hole.
You see the Chiefs, I mean, even after losing, they're 20-4 in their last 24 games. It's the best mark in the NFL, period. They're really tough to beat at home, as I mentioned. They're really tough to beat in the division, undefeated in the division. The Broncos not very good in the division this year. I think the Broncos, as I've said on this show recently, their long-term future is good. I know it sounds funny to say that when it's like, well, the only thing they really need is a quarterback. Isn't that the main thing? Yes, but the defense is in place, and John Elway has shown in the recent past his ability to get a team to the Super Bowl on the offense without a defense, get him back there and win with a defense without an offense. He's a very capable general manager. Not perfect, but very capable. But in terms of this matchup this week and its implications on the season, considering where it's played and the way both teams have looked this year, I like the Chiefs, and I think that's all she wrote for the Broncos.
I agree with you there. I think that's all she wrote. I think that the Denver Broncos' best chance of winning this game would have been if the Chiefs had beaten Tennessee last week. The fact that the Chiefs lost to Tennessee, lost to Marcus Mariota, I think that they're up against the gun right here. They can't jeopardize their postseason aspirations. The Dolphins are on their heel, obviously. The Dolphins are a team to be reckoned with this year. We can't ignore that reality. I definitely think that the Chiefs understand the urgency of the moment. They will respond, and they were going to be up for a game anyway, going up against the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, which is their most heated nemesis from the AFC West in the Denver Broncos. But when you couple that with the level of urgency, when you look at some of the acrimony that's existing within the Denver Broncos locker room, when you think about the fact that their running game is stale, that their defense against the run isn't that much better, you take into account Spencer Ware and what he's capable of doing. Jeremy Maclin is back in the lineup. You've got a 3 tight end set that really gives and is capable of giving Denver's defense the problem, because their secondary is strong against wide receivers outside the numbers, but in between the numbers, it's a little bit more difficult for them to defend. I think you notice all of those things, you put it together, coupled with the game being at Arrowhead Stadium and combining that with the urgency of the moment. I just think this is one of those situations where the Denver Broncos, I just don't see it. Anybody can win, of course, but I'm rolling with the Chiefs. I just don't see how the Broncos could win this game. The Chiefs could beat themselves, but I don't think the Broncos are going to beat them.
With an offensive line that hasn't done the best job this year, and with inexperienced quarterbacks really on this team, the way the Chiefs can pressure the quarterback, maybe the best in the world at that, that's bad news for the Broncos offense. And then the question is, what can the Broncos defense do? I mean, that's the shot in this game. Can you come away +2 in a turnover differential and make that the difference in the game, even as you're getting outplayed in other areas? Because I expect the Chiefs, at the very least, to outplay the Broncos. And so the Broncos are going to have to get a little lucky, I think, to win the game.
I agree with that.
All right, Kansas City favored by 3.5 in that one. Coming up.